Good evening, everyone. It is once again Ted the Speed Learner, and this is yet another edition of my For My Students video series. And I wanted to wish everyone a belated Happy Mother's Day because I wasn't able to get this video on the air until now. But the theme of this video will be related to Mother's Day. This video response is going to go out to Bering, and I know you don't make a lot of friends on the internet, but I know you will give me a fair and honest debate. However, I do ask one thing of you, that you refrain from using expletives when you debate me on this video. I am trying to teach my students to refrain from using expletives when they're debating any topic on YouTube for two reasons. Number one, I don't want them to get into the habit of using expletives at their workplaces or in their relationships because it can cause them to lose jobs and it can cause them to destroy their relationships, whether it be with a spouse or a parent or a child or with even a friend. See what I mean? And I'm not even going to debate that with you. I'm right on this. Don't even try to debate me. I have enough material to just show you specifically that I am correct. So, enough about that. Let's just skip on. There is one preface to this video. It's about SVG Bezier curves, and I'm going to utilize them once I make the presentation. I am supposed to, now I don't know whether I will or not, but I am supposed to have some time off in the next couple of weeks. And if that comes to pass, I will be able to make my presentation on Bezier curves here on YouTube, and I will then be able to utilize them to correct the visualization problems that many of my students are having. I am not kidding you on this. You could go up to some of these people and tell them that there's been a wreck, okay, a collision of two cars, one being a Volvo, one being a Volkswagen Beetle. You can even tell them what street it's on. And they can't visualize that in their head. I'm not kidding you. You would literally have to go out to the wreck site, take a photo of it, and hand them the photo and say, that's what happened, before they'd ever catch on to what you were saying. Well, thanks to the presentation of the Bezier curve, I will be able to utilize that with SVG graphics and draw out many of the memorization techniques that I have discussed here on YouTube. They say, what does any of this have to do with my presentation tonight? Okay, well, let's get into this. I have two web articles. The hyperlinks of both are down here in the description below. There's actually a third hyperlink, but I'll talk about that later. I will actually discuss that later on in the video, so hang in there. But anyway, the first article covers reasons why people should have children. The second one covers some of the reasons why people do not have children. And I'm going to cover all of this tonight. And there's a reason for this. Because I'm going to have people on the one side sitting there going, well, it's my body, my choice, I ain't going to have any kids. And then on the other side of the coin will be people that will be standing there saying, well, you're then saying that only certain people should have children. Hold on, folks. It's going to get interesting. Okay. I have some notes right here, and we're going to get into this. So, why should people have children? Well, children can change your perspective of the world around you. That's absolutely true. Talk to a kid. I guarantee you, once you talk to about 2 or 3 kids, your perspective on the world will change dramatically. Ask any parent, they'll tell you. Kids can help you regulate your diet because, let's just face it, thanks to the Affordable Care Act wants you to be healthier. And let me tell you something. If there is a particular food that you would not feed your children, it's probably not good for you either. And this goes along the lines of the next one that says that kids can keep you fit. Let me tell you something. Kids can actually keep you fit and healthy. You say, well, kids bring home diseases all the time. Well, they do, but they also encourage you to have an active, healthy lifestyle. If you want your kids to be active and healthy, of course, you should be active and healthy also to keep up with them. A sedentary lifestyle doesn't work with a kid, especially if you have more than one. And that's a fact. You can ask any parent about that. That's what they'll tell you. All right? Children can teach you time management. Now, this is something you should have already learned in college, but if you don't learn it in college and you don't learn it in your career, well, of course, you're going to learn it from your kids. I guarantee you that. Anyway. And children can cause you to think about the future. Your own future, their future, that kind of thing. Which is where we get the perspective of how things change, how perspective can change about things around you because of your children. Those are very good reasons why to have children. If you want to expound on this, you can go ahead and check out the first web article below in the description, and you can see this all for yourself. Now then, another reason why you should have children is because they can actually make you happier. Yes, they can cause you a lot of stress, but they can also make you happier. Because by default, they will talk to you. They may not say the things you want them to say, but they will talk to you. You'll feel a lot less lonely when you have children. As stressful as they may be, at least you won't be lonely. And that's a fact. Ask any parent, they'll tell you that. Okay. So if all of this is true, why don't people have children? The number one reason why people do not have children is because they can't afford them. Why is that? Because they have low-income jobs. That's right. Well, why do they have these low-income jobs? Mainly because they don't have a proper education. Well, why don't they have a proper education? Well, you can thank the National Education Association for that one. That's right. They and their Common Core and that No Child Left Behind garbage and those awful textbooks. And don't tell me about those textbooks. I've read them. Shoot, I had them 20 years ago, and I tell you what, they haven't improved since I got out of high school. So I can tell you right now the textbooks are deplorable. So it's not really the teachers that have the problem here. It's the textbooks and the curriculum set up by the National Education Association. That's your problem. And I'm here on this YouTube channel to correct that. Not by protesting the NEA. That is a complete waste of time. I'm here to present you with the materials that they refuse to present to you. In other words, whatever they don't give you, I will. Too bad, so sad. I am their direct competition. Let them come. So, if we can improve your GPA, well, if I can help you improve your GPA, which I know I can, then with a better GPA, you can go out and get a higher paying gainful employment. In other words, a higher paying job. And when you get a higher paying job, you are more likely to have children because you can afford them now. Think about it. It's not just the supplies that the children will need. Clothes, food, shelter, that kind of thing. We're talking about health insurance on top of all of that. That's a lot of expense. Vacations, you name it. Children are quite expensive, no question about it. But if you have a proper income and you get rid of all your debt, no house debt, no car debt, no debt at all, then you can financially have children. See what I mean? And the first step to doing this is to correct a visualization problem that a lot of people have. Because if you get rid of the visualization problem, you can deploy very advanced memory techniques and speed reading, which means that you'll be able to read faster, you'll be able to retain it a lot better. Whatever material you speed read will then be able to be retained in your head. You'll have 80% or better retention, and if you have that, you can learn more quickly. And if you learn more quickly, boom, there you go. Now, the first thing I will say here, and I need to say this right now, is I do not advocate anybody, any student in high school, I do not advocate any student in high school having a child. You've already got the stress of trying to keep up your good grades, and now you add a pregnancy to it. Not a good combination. I also do not recommend, although there's nothing I can do to stop you, but I do not recommend that you go to college and have a child at the same time. The same situation. You were already stressed out about your academics, and then you add a baby to it. Not a good combination. And I would like to see people not only get themselves some kind of college degree. You don't even need a 4-year degree. Just a 2-year degree would be really nice. To start out in a career and get the initial career starting stress out of your system before you have a child. So that means that I recommend that people be at least 25 to 30 years old before they ever have their first child. I also do not recommend people having 6 and 7 and 8 kids. It's really not necessary, and it causes a lot more stress than needs to be. Especially if you go into certain careers. If you're going into certain careers, the last thing you need is 7 kids on top of it. It really doesn't work very well. I mean, you can do it, but it's going to be very stressful, and it's going to take a very big time toll on your health. And the last thing you need to do is take a toll on your own health while trying to raise children. Not a good situation. So that's why I say what I say. Okay. So, in order to fix the problem, we first have to get people to learn faster and retain more information. Why? Because we are switching from an industrial society to an information society. It's a truly intellectual society. That means you have to be smarter and you have to do it faster. And if you're not smarter faster, you're not going to get very good paychecks. That's a fact. Don't believe me? Check out the economy. And I'll debate anybody on this. Okay? So, what's the second reason why people don't have children? They have a morbid fear of passing down on a genetic level what they would consider mental defects, okay? They don't want a mentally defective child. Perfectly understandable. However, many of these type of situations can be avoided by a healthier lifestyle. How do you have a healthier lifestyle? You have a better financial position. How do you get that better financial position? You get better educated. How do you get better educated? You can come here. Most of my videos are free, and they'll teach you a lot of stuff that you really need to know in order to get the higher paying gainful employment, which in turn would improve your health because you'd be able to afford to pay for the health that you need. The more money you have, the better health care you get. It's that simple. See what I mean? So you can actually significantly reduce your chances of having some kind of mentally deficient child, okay, by getting better health care through better finances. Now, that's never a guarantee. There is no such thing as guarantees in life. Well, you can guarantee taxes, that's for sure, but most everything else you can't guarantee. Continuity is a real pain in the butt. So, yes, There's no 100% guarantee on that, but you can significantly reduce your chances of having a mentally deficient child by just having better health care through better finances. And you have better finances through a better education, which you can receive on this YouTube channel. Okay. Then there's the argument of overpopulation. Now this is dependent on whether you are a part of the Christian faith or not. If you are a part of the Christian faith, then you believe in an omnipotent God. And if you believe in an omnipotent God, and although that's a really hard word to say, but let's practice it again. If you really believe in an omnipotent God, then you believe that God can provide, even if 95% of this earth was covered by human beings, He could still provide you with enough food to eat, and He could provide everybody with a good place to live, and He can provide everybody with all the clothes they would ever need. God can do that. So, we Christians believe that overpopulation is never an issue. But I know I'm going to hear arguments about that. Well, if you're not Christian, well, I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, then comes the fertility issues. Let me tell you something. As a Christian, I honestly believe if God wants you to have a child, you will. He will show you the way to do it. Now, you may have to go through a whole bunch of medical science to get it done, but He will show you a way to have a child. And of course, even if you can't biologically have a child, which in the 21st century is becoming more and more rare, but even if you couldn't, there's plenty of children to adopt. So either way, that's not a real big issue. Alright, and then the next issue is pregnancy is going to place a strain on my body. It can. But we live in 21st century medicine. Do your research on this. Do your homework on this. There are things that I'm pretty sure you could do in the 21st century to alleviate a lot of this. Not everything, but it can reduce your chances. And I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who can show a whole bunch of research to show how you can reduce the strain on your body during a pregnancy. Let me tell you something. I just watched an interview of, if I recall correctly, it was an Olympic track star. And while she was training for the 2016 Olympics, she was pregnant. Now, if she can train for the Olympics and be pregnant at the same time, so can anybody. But you have to have good medical care. The only way you get good medical care is through a better financial situation. The only way you get that is through better education, and that's what brings you back to here. Okay. And then, oh gee, my neighbors and friends and my family, they try to force me to make perfect choices for my children. Based on what criterion? You ought to ask them, how do you base these decisions? A lot of times they can't justify it. If they can't justify it, ignore them. Especially if they're not your family. Say, look, unless you can scientifically justify your advice to me, then don't say anything to me. They're my kids, not your kids. And I've already conducted the proper research on this stuff. Why did I conduct the proper research? Because I'm a speed reader and a memory expert. And how did I get that? Well, I went through Ted's YouTube channel to get it. There you go. And I honestly believe that if you're watching this right now and you're in high school or in college right now, feel free to acquire my skills and then utilize them to read up on parenting. You can absorb that information even if you never do become a parent, which that first web article shows good reasons to do so. Just knowing about the topic would be a great asset to you. At the very least, you'll learn a lot of time management, and in any career, you need good time management. No question about it. So, there are benefits to knowing about parenting, even if you never do become a parent. Okay, so then the next one is, not all women have maternal instincts. Well, they may not be born with maternal instincts, but you can learn a lot about that. Especially if you are then a speed reader, a memory expert. You've learned all the material I've taught on this YouTube channel. Let me tell you something. It's just like a cup of coffee. Okay, you have your coffee, you have your cup, you start pouring the coffee into the cup. At a certain point, if you keep pouring, it's going to overflow the cup. It's going to go everywhere. Let me tell you something. When you store enough information in your head, you're going to be compelled to share it. And not always do your friends want to hear it, but your children will. Depending on what information you're trying to share with them. See what I mean? So, let me tell you something. When you get hungry, you eat. At a certain point, you get full. If you keep trying to eat after you get full, well, you can just about imagine what kind of mess happens after you try to eat when you're already full. Not a pretty picture. There you go. So, then the next one. The world isn't a nice place. Well, you know, the world has never been a really nice place. Come on, look through history. Look how many wars have occurred in the last 2,000 years. I mean, we're talking wars and natural disasters. It's never been a nice place. There's no utopia here. But you can make the best of it if you really try. And the only way you can make the best of it is to get well educated. And you only get well educated, well, let's just say one of the best ways to get well educated, if you want to go the free route, okay? I mean, you can go pay for all this, but that's a lot of bucks. But if you want to go the free route and the easily accessed route, come here. And I'll help you. So, world not being a nice place, well, that's kind of lame, because it never has been a nice place, and it probably never will be. You have to overcome that. That's one of the things I teach here, is how to overcome things. You overcome the world not being a nice place. That's how that works. Okay, career ambitions. Let me tell you something. Children only occupy, theoretically, about 18 years of your life. People nowadays are living to close to 80 or 90 years old. Think about that. So if you subtract 20 years out of 90 years, that leaves you with about 70 years. More than plenty of time, even if you subtract your high school career, which is another 12 years out of that. Okay? You're still talking over 50 years. More than plenty enough time to pursue your career. Shoot, when the kid turns 18, if you've taught them correctly, because you have learned, well, hopefully you learned from me. If you have learned from me, you teach them correctly, they move out, you go pursue your career. And you can even pursue your career while you're raising them, as long as you've got good time management skills. There's no reason why you can't. I know lots of ladies that go out there and they have careers and they are also able to raise very good children. And because now, thanks to me, you have all these speed reading and memory techniques, you can read all about them. And you can see what they did and apply those skills into your life. So that's pretty lame. Okay. Kids don't fit into my lifestyle. Time management fixes that. You can have kids and you can still have a lifestyle. But you have to have good financial resources and you have to have good time management. And you have to be in good health. And you learn a lot of that right here on this YouTube channel. You can utilize those pieces of information into your life to make your life a whole lot easier. Let me tell you something. If you have enough finances, you can get all the necessary appliances to do whatever you need to do. You can have the proper house, the proper yard, the list just goes on and on. You can have all that, and you can have it totally debt-free, which means you won't be stressed out. The only thing stressing you out is your kids. And even that can be taken care of. Because you are able then to absorb parenting books in record time. If you're able to absorb parenting books in record time, it's not a chore anymore. Problem solved. So you can still have your lifestyle, still have your kids, and still have your career all at the same time. And there are a lot of ladies out there that successfully do that every day. So again, a pretty lame excuse. Okay. Now then, the final one. My body, my choice. Well, it is indeed your body, and it is indeed your choice. But it depends on what point of view you're looking at things. Right now, you're looking at things from your perspective. Think about it. The ability to read books in record time. Say, a book that would normally take 30 days for an average person to read, you're now reading in 10. And you're retaining 80% of that information every time you read it. Whoa. Talk about a different perspective in life. The more material you have in your mind, the more likely you'll make different decisions. Let me tell you something. I actually read a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And my perspective on the economy has changed radically because of that. And I cannot tell you how many books I've read since then that has changed my perspective about everything. Now that I have these new abilities, I read books all the time. And I read them in record time, which means I get better perspectives on everything. I have a deeper understanding and a deeper comprehension of the motivations of Henry Ward Beecher because now I'm able to read his material. Why? Because I have a dictionary in my head. A lot of the stuff he covered had a lot of vocabulary to it. Well, vocabulary is not a limited thing to me anymore because I learned Italian, because I learned Latin. And the only way I was able to do that is through speed reading and the memory techniques that I've learned and I have also shared on this YouTube channel. So, if you're looking at things from your point of view, then I can thoroughly comprehend why you would say, my body, my choice, my life. But if you're looking at things from my point of view, with the information that's now stored in my head, you see things radically differently. If you don't believe me, try it. You'll see. This video won't change your mind. I don't expect it to. But if you do master the speed reading and the memory techniques that I have discussed here on this YouTube channel, and then you go through all of my videos and absorb all that information, your perspective on everything will radically change. And then if you go out one step further and you take the information that I have given to you and then you apply that to all the books you're reading, holy cow. One of the biggest reasons to have children is because of your need to share. Well, right now you don't have a whole lot to share. That's why you don't share it. But imagine having that much ability, having that much information in your head. There would just be an overwhelming compulsion to share. Nobody would have to make you do it. You would just do it because you would have no reason not to. You'd be sitting there going, man, I just can't handle anymore, so I share. That's why you should have children. The final point I'm trying to make here is this. When you have a proper education, you get a proper career. When you have a proper career, you get yourself, yeah, that's true. When you have a proper education, you get a proper job and a career, okay? And then after that, you can then have children. Okay? And you can have a balanced life. And another thing I encourage is that before you even have children, have a life first. Go out, have some new experiences. You'll have the financial resources for it. You'll have the health for it. Why not? Have your experiences so you have something to share with the children before you ever have them. Another good piece of advice. And then, don't stop your life because you have children. Continue on with your life. You can do it. You can have your lifestyle choices, your career, and your education, and still have children. You can have it all. No reason why you can't. Whew. I know this has been a long video. I'm sorry about that. I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned.